Hi folks, good afternoon from ECY Shed Quarters. Just thought I would pop in and video for what I've decided to call the Wholly Irregular ECY Shedcast. Mostly because I can't really call it a podcast, because I feel like that's something completely different, and regular, it implies a certain amount of commitment, you know, like a weekly thing or whatever. And I'm rather liking doing these because I like the spontaneity. I like doing them on a whim. I like this kind of thing of got quite a bit to talk about now, I haven't done for a while, so let's get on the video and talk about stuff, you know, and just doing it like that, and kind of like, here's what we've got and that's it, rather than a weekly thing and trying to, you know, think up stuff when there isn't stuff and all that kind of thing. And of course, that if you do that, it makes it a chore, doesn't it? And where's the pleasure in that? What's the point? So Shedcast, not podcast. I mean, you know, I just think YouTube video sounds a bit old school. Anyway, that's basically all it is. So yes, the Wholly Irregular ECY Shedcast. Welcome. It's, what is it, the 1st of May today. We're in lockdown still because of the COVID pandemic. For anyone watching in like 5 years time and wondering what's going on, that's what's happening right now in the world, and it's all very weird. I must admit that Dave and I, we're enjoying it, to be honest, because we're enjoying the peace and quiet, and we're enjoying not having that constant pressure of social commitments, really. We're both homely. We like to be in our own company. We like peace and quiet, you know, and I've always felt a bit guilty for that. And do you know what, if you feel the same, you shouldn't. Not everybody has to love hustle and bustle and socializing and stuff like that, and that's us. We like our peace and quiet. There's just no two ways about it. Just us and the dogs, that's all we need. We're very happy. So we're actually really enjoying the peace and quiet, and just some downtime really in between work. So I know it's not the same for everybody, but that's where we're at. We are both still working though, so there is that, which is, you know, it will be different for a lot of people. He works full time and he's out at work, whereas I'm full time, but I'm at home, obviously. So we've still got that focus, which, like I say, I'm sure will make a really big difference. And if you don't have that, what I would say is pick one thing each day and focus on that. The key is to, it sounds silly, but the key is to not think about the future, really, because once you start thinking about it, I think it starts to become more and more overwhelming, doesn't it? And you kind of think, especially with the lack of plans, you kind of think, well, you know, it's like looking into the abyss almost. So I think the best bet is just pick one thing per day. Keep your expectations low as well. You know, it's completely fine to just get dressed. You know, you don't have to do all these things that people are posting about on social media. I mean, we're certainly not. And even if we weren't working, we still wouldn't be putting pressure on ourselves to be doing all the things, you know, learning languages and all that kind of stuff. Just no, you don't have to. Just do what you want to do, cope with it how you need to cope with it, and that's completely fine. Okay, right, I'll stop lecturing, but I just kind of wanted to say a little bit about it, so I've got fluff in my mouth. I'll crack on with the yarn. So the biggest thing today is that we've got a Coniston fingering update coming up on Tuesday. What are we on today? Friday, so that's in a few days time. See, even when you're still working, you've still no idea whether you're coming or going. Yeah, so Coniston fingering. This is, oh, it's such a luscious yarn. It is merino and mohair singles. I'm just seeing how close I can get that to the camera without it blurring. Oh, there you go. I hope you can see that well enough in this light. Can you see that bit of a fuzzy halo? Could do with something a bit darker, and then you can hopefully see it. Oh yeah, there you can see a bit better, look. So yes, Coniston fingering. So that's a 4-ply weight, but it isn't a 4-ply construction. Now we differentiate between 4-ply weight and fingering, which is the American term for it really. The reason that we do that is because a true 4-ply, which is the same thickness, but a true 4-ply has 4 strands plied together. And so although this is also what we would call a 4-ply weight or thickness, it isn't a 4-ply construction, and I kind of think it's misleading to call it 4-ply when it's technically not. So that's why we use the terms 4-ply and fingering weight sort of interchangeably, but there is a reason for that, and it does differentiate the types of yarn, but it is the same thickness as a 4-ply yarn. Okay, the wraps per inch on it are about 16. It kind of depends how much space you give for the fluff when you test it, but yeah, it's a standard 4-ply thickness. It's just that we call it fingering weight. And yeah, it's fluffy, does shed a little bit, but obviously not enough to put me off, so hopefully not enough to put you off either. That's the price we pay for gorgeous fluff. It's not horrendous, but it is a little bit. This is quite a big update actually. I don't know if you can see all that. I think I've done about 10 kilos, which is sort of our standard. That's 100 skeins. I'll tell you about the colours next, because obviously that's like the next biggest thing other than telling you about the actual yarn. I'm going to start with, I think this is my favourite. This is Mountain Hare. It's just a mix of browns really. You know, it's not anything dead summery or snazzy or anything, but I just absolutely love this. So yeah, brown is very hit and miss in terms of sales, it has to be said, but I love brown, so I shall keep doing them and producing them and stocking them, and as long as I can just about get away with it, I will carry on doing that. So that's Mountain Hare. Let me show you another favourite, Meadow Grasses. There we go. It's a mix of sort of blues and greens. Actually, this is quite a light dye lot of this. Some of the dye lots that I've done of it previously have been darker. Hopefully you can see that my hand's not too in the way. But yeah, meadow grasses as in the blues and greens of proper meadow grasses, not like lawn grass, because obviously that's not that colour. I've got some really nice bluegrass in one of my borders, and that's kind of what's got me going with that. So that's meadow grasses. What else have we got? I've got more green here. This is wax jacket, right? I don't know whether is it wax jacket or is it waxed jacket? Okay, I'm gonna need you to tell me because I can't decide. On these labels I've gone with waxed jacket, but sometimes I just go with wax jacket. Anyway, details. So that's green. What other green have we got? Yes, have a look at this. Dappled woodland. I've not done this for ages. It does what it says on the tin really, dappled woodland. But yeah, so that I like these subtle dappled colourways because they are light enough or sort of plain enough that you can knit sort of cables and things like that and see them, but also you've got that just this little bit of interest with the little dapples of colour. So I really like, that's why I like doing these. I don't really do full-on speckles, but I will do sort of sprinkles and dapples just for that little bit of interest and a little pop of colour, which I think is nice in some projects. I've done lots of blues actually, so I've already mentioned meadow grasses. This is Whirlpool, which greyish turquoise maybe I would say. Whirlpool. I've done Mill Pond and Tarn. They are sister colours. Mill Pond is the lighter one and Tarn is the darker one, but they're the same colour, but one's lighter and one's darker. So I've done that lot. I'll tell you what else I've done that's blue, like proper blue. Check that out. So that is an ombre colourway. I've done a Thunder ombre. You've seen this before, or well, if you've been following me, you've seen this before. This is the Thunder ombre. It's been on my Instagram and everything. So I've done more of that, but also thought it would be fun. I've just done Twist, this beautifully twisted skein. I thought it'd be fun to do something else as well. So can you see that? Doesn't all fit. There we go. That's better. Get further away. So yeah. Now the ombre colourways, I don't have tons of ideas as to what you would do with them. I just sort of think that they're really pretty. However, Laura is crocheting a shawl with the Thunder ombre on Coniston fingering, and it's modular crocheted shawl, so each little module is in, I think it's a diamond, so that you get the colour fade in each little section. So if you're a knitter, things like mitered squares, so that you, like I say, you get the full ombre effect in each little square. So we're still kind of gathering ideas on what to knit with an ombre colourway, but they are really fun to dye. I don't do them that often, just every now and then. So there's a couple in this update. Whilst I'm still on blues, I've also got Riverside. So this is a mix of blues and greys. That's quite subtle. It's kind of a bit of a, I think of these colourways as being like watercolours. You know, they've got kind of like washes of colour rather than like almost like brush strokes of like the dapples and things like that. So they're a lot more wishy-washy. But I really like those because you can get quite a marbled effect and quite a smudgy sort of effect once the colours are knitted up. And what I do when I'm dyeing these variegated colourways is I try to mix up the colours as much as I can. What I mean by that is I try to disperse the colours as much as I can, in order that when you knit up or crochet up these colourways, you won't get the pooling. That's what I'm trying to say. It's to avoid, hopefully, too much colour pooling. So that is something that I get asked about, and it is something that I take into consideration when I'm dyeing. So yeah, that was blues, wasn't it? I've also done a colourway that I've not done for a little while, Chroma Pier. This is another one with sort of washes and little bits of colour to it. If you've been following me for a long time, you might remember the inspiration behind this, but if you haven't, it's literally just inspired by a visit to Chroma Pier that I went on a few years ago now. And was quite struck. There was kind of like the pier was, it was wooden obviously, but it was all kind of like silvery, and then there was a shelter. I'm trying to remember now, it's quite a long time ago. There was a shelter which was, I think, cream coloured, and then you had like the grey clouds, and then the subtle sort of grey and sand of the beach and the stones in the background, and it was all just to go back to the idea of it being like a watercolour again. And I took a few pictures, and it's kind of like the sun was just coming through the clouds, and it was all very kind of silvery, and I was just struck by it, you know. I just that it's just how I am really when I'm out and about. I was just struck by it, and I thought it'd be so nice to kind of put that in palette into a skein of yarn. So I mean, it's years ago, and this colourway it's changed over the years, of course it has. The variegated colours in particular do, but the inspiration remains the same, and the concept and the idea, that hasn't changed, that's still the same. And yeah, it's a pleasure to kind of dye with that in mind. It is like painting really. Anyway, I'm waffling. So let's look at a few other colours. So we've looked at blues. I've got some neutrals. Bark, actually bark would go really nicely with mountain hair. They're nice together. Oh, that's actually the only really true neutral. There's what else have we got? Dusk and thunder. Oh no, it's not a thunder. So right, I've done dusk, which is sort of your pale greyish purple. Actually, that's really nice with bark. Look at that. Low contrast, but that is so pretty. No, it's not. Right, it's not thunder, it's lavender fields. Sorry, I got mixed up. Let's pull a few of these out. So this is lavender fields, similar to thunder, hence my confusion. I don't know if you can just make that out. Lavender fields just has dapples and sprinkles of colour to it, sort of a goldy colour and a bit of a sort of stronger pinky purple, and they're just gently scattered throughout the skeins, so that, you know, like I was saying before, you know, you're working with this kind of what feels like a plain colour, and then you just get little pops of interest. And then if you're using a contrast colour with that, you can pick out a contrast colour which pulls out these pops of colour. So like you might choose a sandy goldy colour, or you might choose like a pinky purple, oh, like that. So that, I don't know if you can see it on the video actually, but that would really pull out, can you see that? That purpley colour. And that is wild raspberry. I've forgotten about that. It's right there and I've forgotten already. It's been a long week. Again, wild raspberry with bark. You see, this is why I always do the neutrals. They go with everything. Right, we're on pinks. So that takes me on to carnations. Again, light dappled woodland. It's just a very simple dappled colourway. Nice and light, so that it will show up lots of stitch textures and lace and cables and things like that. But just that little bit of interest in the pops of colour. So again, you might choose like a bright purple, or this is sort of a turquoisey teal colour. So you might choose something like Whirlpool, which is your soft turquoisey colour, or you could go with meadow grasses. They're nice together. I wonder what a blue would be like. Yeah, blue would be nice, wouldn't it? Look at that. That's nice with tarn. That's the darker one of those two. So yeah, that's carnations. What else have we got? Oh, now this, see, I think this is a pink, but I know a lot of people see it as red. Red goosefoot, but pink to me. It's meant to be a soft, faded, reddish pink. It's meant to look faded, that's the whole point. It's sort of a vintagey kind of feel. I really like that colourway. Again, it's a little bit hit and miss actually, but I really like that one. And Red Goosefoot is a plant, by the way. It's not a completely random made up name. So that's that. There's a few pinks here. So I've dyed Antique Rose, which is our very, very pale, cool pink. It's a lilac-y sort of pink, if you can even tell from, hopefully you can from there. And although these are not new, I've got them in the box with the rest of it. So look at that. So that's Antique Rose, Rambling Rose and Red Grape. And they're just so lovely together. So the Rambling Rose and Red Grape are older dye lots. And then another older dye lot, but again, goes well. I think it goes well with the Red Grape. Look at that. Apricot Tulip. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but again, I really like apricot, so that's why. I've got apricot tulips in my garden, but they've not come out yet. I think they've maybe been a bit too dry over the past few weeks, and now that we finally do have rain, I think it might be too late. And I haven't watered them because I'm just not that organised. So that's your pinks. There's some sort of yellows and other bits like that over here as well. So look, we've got dandelion. No, daffodil. I always get those two mixed up. And they're quite different. Anyway, both yellow. Daffodil. Spring buds. This was a request, which I was quite happy to oblige. Spring buds. So very delicate colours of, to me it's like daffodils and, you know, the big pale coloured blousy tulips and that kind of thing, like Russian snowdrops and stuff. The early spring bulbs, hence the name that you get. We've got a couple of skeins of calamondin in stock as well. Oh sorry, that's fern. Fern's the darker of the two, calamondin's lighter than this, it's more yellowy. So that's fern, which I've only really brought out because I love how it looks with dappled woodland. So that's that lot. Have I shown? Oh no, I haven't shown you what I'm wearing. Pollen. That's the colourway that I am wearing. So oh, get a bit closer. There you can see how that knits up, hopefully. So this is what I've been saying about how you've got a plain colour to show off your stitches, and then it's got the little pops of colour in it just for a bit of interest. Okay, so I'm dropping everything, hang on. There we go, that's my notes. I need my notes, otherwise I'll forget everything. So pollen, and every time I appear anywhere in this jumper, people ask me about it. So it's called Heron Island. It's from Making Stories magazine. I think it was issue 2, but it is on Ravelry, so you can check. Heron Island. And the designer's name is Beatrice Perrin Darlan. But again, it's on, look it up, it's on Ravelry, you will find it. And if you want to have a nosy at me on Ravelry, I am V Magnus, because I'm so awful at choosing usernames. So yeah, just V Magnus, all one word, and you'll find me. Yes, I am messing with my hair, it's really annoying because I can't get it cut. So yeah, that's this jumper. Now, very quick information about this jumper. This was, I hand knitted the yoke down to here, and then I hung it on the knitting machine. So I did it in 4 sections: front, sleeve, sleeve, back. And then you knit straight stocking stitch all the way down, and then I seamed up here, down there and down there, and then I hand knitted the neckband and the hem and the cuffs. So the sleeves are more fitted than I think they are in the pattern because I hate baggy sleeves. Also, this yoke, that's the cast on edge there. Very fussy. I don't like wide necks, and when I tried it on I was just like, no, it's going to be too wide. So I picked up along the cast on edge, did a few rows of stocking stitch, did a few rows of garter stitch, and then cast off again tightly so that it would keep it structured, and that's much more wearable for me. So yes, it does have a thicker neckband than it should do. I think that's the only edits that I've done. I used, I think, 3 and 3.5mm needles for this, and the gauge, actually this is the machine knitted bit, but it matches my hand knitting tension, is it's fairly loose and open, but it's nice and warm. You know, I could wear this for dog walking in, because you know how you set off and you're quite chilly, and then as you get going and the sun comes out, you're quite warm. But it's light enough that you know you stay comfortable, and then you kind of like stop to have something to eat or look at the views and take loads of photos if you're me, and get cold again, and it's just kind of just cozy enough. So it's this very versatile jumper. This yarn is really light and comfortable to wear. I love it. That's why I stock it. I don't stock yarns that I don't like. I have no reason to. The other thing that I've made in this yarn is this. Oh god, no, I didn't make it actually. Alison Casserly very kindly made it for me. Taking credit for not my own work there. This is Laverton. The pattern is my own work, but I didn't knit this. I got her to knit it for me because she's nice like that. So this is Laverton. Now in the pattern, I use Carlisle fingering held double with Eldwick lace, which is the mohair. And when we got this yarn, I really wanted to sort of know if you could use this yarn alone as a substitute for something else held double with mohair. And the answer is yes, you absolutely can. So this is just one strand of Coniston, and as you can see, that's worked out beautifully. The gauge is absolutely fine. I think it was 4.5mm needles, and that is absolutely fine. The fluff fills out the stitches more than enough. So this is really light and cozy. I've been wearing this morning because although it's sunny now, which is why I'm sort of slightly squinting, it's been a really cold wind, and I'm just one of those people who I can't bear having a draft on my neck. Like the slightest hint of a cold wind and I've got something around my neck, which is pretty much why I'm a knitter. So I wear shawls and cowls and things all the time. So I'll just show you how I wear this, because I don't wear shawls as shawls. I wear them like that, like a scarf. So I do just wear them as scarves. I like to snuggle up. It has to be very, very warm for me to not have something around my neck. So that's so cozy. The contrast, these stripes are made in Nateby 4-ply, but you could just as easily, I'm going to take it off now because it is warm in this shed, you could just as easily use the brand new Rosedale 4-ply mini skeins. And here's a good segue for you. My next item is a Rosedale 4-ply mini skeins. So I mentioned these last time. These are coming in the same update as the Coniston fingering. So, oh, by the way, this is the same colourway as this shawl. It's Riverside. Hang on, there we go. Whilst I remember. So the mini skeins, just turn the camera a little bit. I've done a few fades. We've got the Tide fade, Clematis fade, and Ash fade. Now the reason I ended up doing the Ash fade because I needed a set for the design that I'm working on, which I think I talked about in my previous Shedcast. And so I'm using one of these sets in that, so that kind of spurred me on to do a few. So those are those. These are great for things like shawls where you've got a set of 5 stripes. But yeah, so there's 100 grams there altogether because there's 5 minis. So you could easily make a hat or actually a shawl with them, which I have done. You see, always thinking. That is a Fuss-Free Festival shawl by Louise Tilbrook. And that is simply using 5 mini skeins in a fade set. Totally different to what I've got in this update, but just as an example, this is sort of an Ash to Rambling Rose fade. It was Nate B4 ply, but still sparkly. So yeah, stuff like that works just beautifully with the fade sets. You could do stripes on a jumper yoke or anything with those. And I've done loads of individual minis too. So here are some of them. Let's get some more. I wonder if I can squeeze all these colours into one shot. Just about. That's all of them. So what do we have? We have some dark and moody colours. Black Magic Rose, Cedar, dark, very dark green, Little Owl, sort of gold, Thunder, which I've forgotten to label, Oak, sort of rosy brown, and Pennine Mist, which is our greyish blue. It's much more greyish than sort of Tarn and Millpond are. And I really like these together. I mean, it's totally unintentional that they would all work together, but oh, they're so gorgeous together. So yeah, just love them. I really just do have a good job. And then I've done Coppice, Briar Rose. Is that Briar Rose? Not Rambling Rose? Yeah, Briar Rose, and Bluebell. Bluebell is a colourway that basically changes every single time I do it. I don't know why, but I always struggle to get that recipe consistent. So you might see it changing. Such is the nature of hand-dyed yarn, really. Oh, and I've done a dye pot look as well. That's always fun. Actually, I know I held up these darker colours before, but I really like Coppice and Briar Rose alongside those as well. So I kind of, I don't set out to create a whole range of colours that go together every single update, but I think I kind of end up half doing it anyway, because like I'll do one and then that sets me off on a train of thought, really. That's probably all it is. But oh look, Bluebell and Thunder are really nice together, actually. See, I like pink and gold together. I think they're really nice. What else? Oh, we've got 2 greens. I didn't even realise. 2 greens, yay. I mean, Black Magic Rose. Oh, it's just gorgeous. And with the gold sparkle as well. I thought that would just work really, really nicely. And I also really like, I've always liked Pennine Mist and Oak. For me, they're like a classic ECY colour combination. So you could certainly, if you're making a Laverton, you could pick out, what should we have? You could do Red Grape, and then you could go subtle and use Black Magic Rose for the not contrast stripes. So you'd have your shawl and you'd just have these stripes of sparkle, just slightly darker. That'd be so nice. What else have we got? So lavender fields with Black Magic Rose, or Briar Rose. What else could we do? So how about Red Goosefoot? What colour minis shall we have? Oak. See, I love pink and brown together. Or Bluebell, slightly more classic combination. Oh, pink and green though, check that out. So there's plenty to play with. I'm not going to go through all the options here. Just have a look, is there anything else that stands out? Whirlpool with cedar, that's a bit different, isn't it? Of course there's Wax Jacket with cedar for the more subtle, you know, you could have your shawl and just these subtle kind of darker sparkly stripes. So yeah, plenty to go at in this update, absolutely tons. That's all the yarn. I'll stop with that for now. The other thing that I need to tell you about is sorry, I'll just grab hold of these. There is a pattern out in Inside Crochet, the latest issue of that uses our yarn. So this is the cowl. Don't you think that's really pretty? I absolutely love this. I just think it's gorgeous. It's by Tracy Todd Hunter. To be honest, she's a long time friend. I must have known her for 10 or 12 years at this point. And sort of worked with her on and off throughout, really. It's really cool to, you know, to still be working with people that I've worked with the whole time, but also to still be finding new people and making new connections and stuff like that. It's very cool. I love working with different people, and I love working with people from all over the world as well, because you get all the different influences and inspirations. That's always really nice. I love that. Anyway, Tracy, she's awesome. We love her work and we love this cowl. I do. I think it's just so pretty. That's how it fits. I might get around that around my neck twice actually. Maybe just about. I might strangle myself. But you could make it longer anyway, I think, if you wanted. So the yarn. 2 balls of Milburn 4-ply in Time. Okay, simple. With a selection of yarnlings. So I've got a load of glassine bags. I like glassine because it's like semi-see-through, but it's still paper. And I have put together yarnling kits. There's 10 in each one. Tracy used more than 10 different colours. So I've put together 3 different options for yarnling kits for this, but they all draw on colours that are in the cowl. So like, can you just see that pink? That's azalea and stuff like that. So yeah, they're on the website now. If we run out, then I'll have to put more together, and I will try and match the colours as much as I can again. But I mean, we call it a yarnling lucky dip, and it kind of is and it isn't, because I'm trying to use at least some of the colours that are in this, if not all of them. It's kind of a bit of a lucky dip, but not entirely. So yeah, and that issue of Inside Crochet, I'm told it's available now in shops. If you are still going into shops, I have not been in a shop in about 6 weeks now, so it's also available by post and digitally online. Inside Crochet. Okay, so that's the yarnling Colourpop cowl. What else do I need to tell you about? Okay, just quickly, Hate the 4-ply in Snow Leopard, still got plenty left. The reason that I bring this up is because I was very interested in why the Hayton DK in Snow Leopard sold out immediately and the 4-ply didn't. It's not a problem, but I just thought that was really interesting. Why would the DK sell out and not the 4-ply? Really weird. Anyway, so I posted about it on Instagram, asking, and basically got told I can't face making a sweater in 4-ply anymore, so I have bought DK. That explains it. That's completely fair enough, and yeah, it totally makes sense. So that has prompted us to decide to do a Hayton DK update sometime over the next few weeks. It won't be imminent because we've got a lot of updates lined up at the moment. But yeah, so Hayton DK will be on the way and Snow Leopard will be back. But in the meantime, we've got plenty of the 4-ply, if you can face knitting with it. So that was that. I just thought that was really interesting. Finally, I'll just tell you what we've got coming soon. I'm just checking my notes here. So, things coming soon. Millburn, we have new colours coming. I think they might arrive on Monday, hopefully. Fingers, toes and everything crossed. So, it's not all of the new colours because we're bringing them in gradually as the old ones that we're discontinuing sell out. So this is the first, well, it's the first 2 colours. One of them's on DK only because its 4-ply counterpart hasn't sold out. So Millburn in Dogwood is practically sold out on both 4-ply and double knit. So we have that, the replacement for that coming. And then Millburn DK in Autumn Fields is, I think, almost sold out. There's like 11 balls left. So we have that's replacement coming as well, but not its 4-ply counterpart because we've still got a lot of Millburn 4-ply in Autumn Fields left. So the replacement for that, it's in progress, but you know, we need to wait until we've sold a bit more of the Autumn Fields 4-ply before we bring in its replacement because I just don't have space to store it. So that's why we're doing that. So that's really, really exciting. You know, we knew it would be held up because of the whole pandemic sort of thing. But the guy that does the dyeing, he works in a mill, and I think he is able to work on his own if he doesn't already anyway. By the sounds of it, it's all a bit, I don't know. And then the guy that goes to another guy who does the balling and bags it up. And I believe he's working in the mill on his own as well. So they're still in progress, but things have been a lot slower, as you might expect. So it was actually a really nice surprise to hear that the yarn was on its way, because we really expected it to be held up a lot longer, and we were like, well, we'll just work around it. So we're very, very excited about that, and we will get the other new colours in as soon as possible. It's just a case of letting the old stock trickle down a little bit more so that I've got the space. So, and then hand-dyed updates coming soon. So we've got lace weight, because we've been asked about it more and more recently, so we thought, yeah, we should probably do that. Titus lace weight and Askham lace weight, both coming soon. We'll tell you more nearer the time. Brimham high twist, full-size skeins and mini skeins, they're coming very soon. I think they're our next hand-dyed update after this. The Brimham high twist is just gorgeous. It's kind of like, it's soft, but it's also kind of like really solid and crispy, and oh, it's so different to this. Like, it's a completely different kettle of fish, but then, you know, that's what we love. So that's coming very soon. I've done the dyeing, and the skeins are all being processed at the moment. Obviously, because of the way we're having to work right now, I'm here on my own, just sort of dyeing, packing orders, unpacking shipments, you know, and doing the admin that I do, and sort of photography and filming and all the other different things. And then I've got Debbie and Claire, who are both working from home, so they are just collecting yarn and dropping off yarn once a week. So it means that, say like I wanted to do some yarn for next week, well basically I would have had to have dyed it last week, because it needs time to be dyed, for me to dry it, and then I've kind of got to get it all packed up and organised, ready for Debbie or Claire to then come and collect it. Then I've got to allow them time to get that twisted and labelled and bring it back. So at the moment, basically what I'm saying is that lead times are much longer, sort of turnaround time and lead time is very much longer than it would normally be, because I would normally have them both here on site. So like I could get the yarn dry and immediately give it to them to twist and label and stuff. So we're working around things, and we're doing it as safely and as efficiently as we possibly can, really. You know, they could come and collect work more often, but I don't feel that that's responsible. It needs to be as infrequent as possible, really. So we're just trying to work around that. So that's why I'm telling you now about the Brimham High Twist, because I have already dyed it, but it won't be available for sort of another at least a week. And then a bit longer term after that, we've got Carlisle fingering coming. So if you don't like mohair, the Carlisle is a really, really good alternative. And Bowland 4-ply, which is the Superwash Blueface Leicester. We've not had much of that in stock for a very long time. No particular reason, it's just these things happen. You know, things kind of slip through the net because we're busy doing other bits. So I am desperate for a drink now because I've been waffling on for a very long time. I hope I've mentioned everything that's of any use, and apologies if I haven't. Apologies if I have missed loads of stuff despite all my talking. And you know, please do ask us any questions that you need to. You can always contact us. There's a contact form on the website. There's the Facebook group if you're not already in it. It's called the ECY Garden. We'd love to have you if you're not already with us. You will need to answer 3 questions, just so that we know who you are and that you're not some mad crazy person, aside from the whole kind of like yarn thing. What else? I think that's it really. Just, yeah, keep on keeping on. Craft if you want to craft. Don't craft if you want to craft. Don't feel like you have to do anything. You don't. You're quite enough doing what you're doing. That's absolutely fine. Nothing more is necessary, really, at the end of the day, is it? Okay, I'll see you next time.